Today we're talking about the white on black pet drawing, and with the constraints of the paper, normally we would do a 1-inch border and a 2-inch grid, but since this paper is cut a little smaller, we're only going to do a 1/2-inch border for this one. So it's going to be important to note that we will use a white colored pencil for the border and then a 2B graphite pencil for the grid and for sketching things out. So it's very important that we do not use the white pencil for the grid, because this does not erase and we won't be able to get it out after everything is drawn. So we're gonna take the ruler like we've done before, line up either the bottom of the ruler or where that dash is by the 0. And rather than putting a mark on the 1, we're gonna put a mark on this larger line right here that is between the 0 and the 1. So we put that there at the bottom, and then we put another one at the top. And then we take the ruler and line it up, connecting those dots, and go across. Once the border is placed, we're gonna do the 2-inch grid on the inside of that. So again, lining up the ruler here, we'll do a mark at 2, 4, and 6. And then switch it to the top, do it again. And lightly connect the dots. And it will be harder to see this graphite line due to the fact that the paper is black, but if you hold it up to the light especially, actually it shows better than I thought it was going to. So again, and there we have it. So first things first, like I said, we will lightly draw the cartoon using a 2B graphite pencil. And what I would recommend for you to do as you work on this is don't focus on drawing individual hairs or fur texture. Just focus on basically outlining these puzzle piece-like shapes of this is where a lighter patch of fur is, and then this is where it transitions into a darker patch. And just keep it very simple so that then it's not going to be overwhelming when you're going through with the white pencil and interpreting that. Now, before I switch to the time lapse, a big question that I get is how do I realistically do the pet's eyes? And this is something that I want to show in depth so that hopefully it makes a little bit more sense and you can understand that this isn't as difficult as it seems. We just have to get a few details just right. So the first thing I'm doing, you can see with the kneaded eraser, is very gently going over the cartoon that we've drawn. And the reason for this is I don't really want to see these lines at the end, so I'm trying to make them more faint. So I still have the guidelines for what I'm doing, but I'm not going to see those when the drawing is finished. So the first place I'm going to go, and you can notice as well, I have a very, very sharp pencil tip, is this highlight in the eye. And it's lightest on the right side, so I'm going to push down harder here. And then as it diffuses, going further to the left, I'm going to do less and less pressure. So in a very small space, I'm getting a slight gradient here. Okay. Now the next place I'm going to go is for the dog's iris. And I'm going to start this off with very, very light pressure, but it's this semicircle shape that we can see down below that fades out basically into nothing. So I'm gonna come along, very, very lightly get my first layer here. Right along the eye here, it's very short fur, so I'm making tiny little strokes, and in my first layer, keeping it a little bit random and not pressing as hard as I can, per se. All right, I'm gonna switch to the time lapse and finish this drawing up. I'm gonna call that done. So as you do this process, make sure to keep the pencil tip very sharp because it will get dulled very quickly by this paper, and in order to get those really fine textures and have it turn out looking really crisp, you wanna make sure that you're working with a very sharp pencil tip. And you may have been able to see in the time lapse, but as I mentioned before, just really keeping it super light with your pressure so that the values turn out dark at first, and then gradually layering lighter and lighter, because you can always make it lighter, but you can't make it darker once you have pushed it that way. So hopefully this helped you see how this process works, and thank you for watching.
What's your name, girlfriend? What's your name? What's your name, girlfriend? What's your name? What's your